Hi, so Charlie giving you Thursday's video, and I hope you're very well. So we've got non-farm payrolls out tomorrow, Friday the 3rd, is that right? Friday the 3rd of August. And so I thought I'd just do a review of the euro dollar here ahead of non-farm payrolls and how I'm going to be approaching these markets going into NFP tomorrow. Now, if we start off with euro on a daily chart, we can see that we've got this pennant in play, triangle, pennant, whatever you want to call it. So we've got this pennant in place here, triangle type thing, but it is actually a bearish pennant because the prior trend prior to coming into this formation was to the downside. So it is actually a bearish type of pattern overall, although price of course can go either way. I could draw another trend line on. I've got this trend line down here, which we're just trying to had a poke at today. It's still sort of sitting around it at the moment. I could put another line on though from this low over here, because this was the end of this down move, although it made that marginal new low there. But so if I drew this on, then we could say, okay, yeah, we're still trading within a triangle type pattern anyway. So there's different patterns on how, triangles and how you want to draw them. But the main point is there is a triangle pennant pattern in play at the moment, and we're going into non-farm payrolls tomorrow. Now, I don't know how volatile the markets will be on the back of non-farm payrolls. We are in the middle of the summer after all. There'll be a bit of volatility, certainly on an intraday basis, but I don't know how much movement we will get show up on the daily charts. Having said that, the euro has started to break down a little bit of weakness here. Are we going to see some more downside? So when I'm approaching it, if we go now to the 4-hour charts, actually what I'll do is I'll actually take some of these lines off. Someone asked me, I think it was last week, what these purple lines on here, and sometimes people think that there are something special. All these purple lines are is they just show you the prior day's high and the prior day's low. So let me just take those off to clean up the chart a little bit. And so if we look at this 4-hour, this is the 4-hour chart, then we can very clearly see that this euro is still pretty much just range bound here, and that's since earlier on in July, and we're now into August. So you have to put it into perspective that the euro is range bound, and it could remain range bound. It's come down to the lower end of its range, and so it could very easily come back well up within that range again. So going into tomorrow, how am I going to be looking at trading it? I have a slight downside bias to the euro dollar. So if I see the potential, certainly if I see on the back of non-farm payrolls, let's assume euro dollar's been consolidating, come up a little bit, maybe overnight and into tomorrow morning. I would then be looking for a downside break if it was to come, if a downside break came, to then hop on the back of that. So I'd be looking for a nice solid red candle on something like an hourly chart to assist me in getting in on the short side. But having said that, I also know that we are within this range, and who knows, maybe the euro decides to come back up within that range, and I have to be aware of that as well. The hourly chart is overall bearish. Moving averages, 50-period moving averages and the likes, they're all crossed to the downside for the time being. So that suggests to me that any retracement we get should then you should be able to sell into that. So there's a number of factors here, but you can see that my bias at this stage is to the downside for the euro, based on the pennant there on the daily charts, and even coming down onto some of these intraday charts. So here we are 24 hours ahead of the news, and I already have a plan. Now, this is how you should go about your trading, is to plan your trades ahead, whether they're swing trades or whatever they are. Even if it's day trading like this for tomorrow, I already have a rough plan of action. Now, of course, like any reasonable trader, you have to be prepared to adjust that plan depending on what happens within the price action. But if the price action does one of those things that I'm looking for, then I know that I'll be looking for short side plays. So that's how I'm going to be approaching that euro dollar. Like I've said though, that's if we see that sort of price action. If we see the euro dollar coming up within this range, then it's probably likely that I'll probably just leave it alone and sit back, because it's been a very choppy, if we go back to the daily charts, very choppy overall on the dailies, and if the euro comes back up within that range, then I probably won't get too involved in it. But if I do see some weakness, then we've got this potential to come back down and visit this trend line here, which if I take you to the weekly chart, is this spans back from the beginning of last year, 2017. So that's coming into play roughly at 115.5. So the potential is there. If I see weakness for the euro, maybe to come down to that, and it still won't have broken the overall lows, but that's nice enough if we're looking at some sort of trades. But I'm not going to get too ahead of myself because we are in the middle of the summer, and we could just find that the euro just stays generally range bound. But at least I have a plan. I'll leave that with you, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for live trading.